talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today, we got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It's my guy, Charlie Quinn. How we doing today, my man?
Doing good, man. Anytime that, Boston, Massachusetts, and New York, can really link up in a peaceful way, it's always a good thing.
For sure, man. I'm always down for it. I know me and you, we've known each other for a little bit too. The fact that I didn't realize it until I was ripping off the intro. The fact this is your first time, coming on the show is pretty crazy as well. But we've obviously seen each other around the way and been to a few events together. So it's nice to finally get you on here and talk to you, man.
For sure, man. I love what you're doing. I always, anytime I can, I reach out to let you know, man. I love what you're doing. Just keep doing your thing, and that's your area. I don't care what anybody says. That's your scene right now, and when I think of top dogs in Massachusetts MMA coverage, it's you. So.
Just hey, man, I appreciate that.
And, hopefully you guys could take care of Kyrie as well.
Hey, man, we're definitely going to, for sure. We're not letting that one go. Let's talk about what went down today, man. Cage Titans 66. They had an emergency press conference to announce the main event and co-main event of Cage Titans 66 going down July 20th. Initial reactions, man. Let's talk about the co-main event. Andrew Valdina versus Tyler Smythe. What's your initial reaction to this matchup?
My initial reaction was, all right, Valdina's got a pair of nuts. My honest reaction.
Yeah, for sure.
I knew that already. I know you know that. I mean, we both know him really well. I knew that already. But that being said, I love the test. Everybody, wants to bust his balls as far as how he hasn't really fought anybody and his, his matchups, records, his opponent's records and stuff like that. Well, now everybody gets their wish because when you look at Tyler Smythe, the butter knife, he's only lost to top dogs. Raposo, he's only lost to top dogs. So even when you want to talk about his losses, he's a high-level fighter. He's a champion multiple times for multiple promotions in the amateurs. Mm-hmm. I think this fight is interesting. I think it's interesting. I really do. Right off the bat, I was intrigued as far as stylistically. And, Smythe's coming up, right? He's usually a 25er naturally, right?
Yeah, in the pros, he has a couple 35ers in there, but he is primarily a flyweight. His three losses, like you mentioned, Raposo, Harris Bonfiglio, and there's another tough one mixed in there as well. 3 losses to 3 really tough guys, all at flyweight, I'm pretty sure. So he is coming up to 135 to face Valdina. Yes,
I mean, my instant reaction seems that this is kind of an all or nothing move from the Smythe side. It seems like, if he could win this fight somehow, that his career is right back on an upward spiral. As far as Valdina, I mean, he seems to be, I'll fight anybody in front of me. So, the goal doesn't change on his end. I mean, no bias. I got the shirt on. I expect him to roll, and I expect him to roll quickly. But, that's the standard he puts out. That's what we're used to seeing. So, That being said, I mean, it's more of a grappling heavy matchup, and Valdina has dominated his matchups, as far as submissions and grappling. So I'm interested to see it. I think there's a sizable gap as far as striking. Fighting in the hall where Valdina, you might as well call it, Valdina Hall Memorial.
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
It's his arena. I wouldn't want to fight him there. I think it's fireworks, but I think, we're looking early round 2 finish from Valdina. Maybe if he gets out of the first, Smythe's a vet. He's definitely very respected, highly touted, but I see this, getting done early round 2. How about yourself?
For sure. I think the way that Valdina's kind of progressed through the beginning of his pro career is a smart approach. I feel like each fight that he's taken, and he takes them quickly. It's not like he's taking 5 fights and they're and elongated over years. It's like one after another. Cage Titans cards is kind of how he's running every month or two. So I think the slow incline of each level of opponent being a tougher step up is a smart move. I think the Will Smith fight was a real test for him, and unfortunately, it took another year for him to get back in the cage after that due to some injuries and stuff. But he took a tough fight versus a Hawaiian kid, a 500 Hawaiian kid who's known for being a tough kid, and he put him away quickly. And then after that one, I said on my recap show, I was like, okay, now that Valdina's got that one back, now this one's got to be something tough. It's got to be a bigger opponent, a better step up in competition, and that's exactly what Tyler Smythe is. you know, he is 5-3. We've talked about the losses being against tough opponents. And he trains out of a good camp, man. And all those guys that he trains with are really tough dudes. So I expect this to be a really entertaining fight. I think that the stylistic matchup between the two is very intriguing. The size difference is that's what gets me. Valdina is obviously going to be the bigger dude with Smythe coming up. We saw it at the face-off. I'm really intrigued for this one, man. The fact that we're getting an Andrew Valdina co-main event as well. He's kind of put himself into that upper echelon of New England talent. I think it's well deserved, man. And Tyler Smythe's trying to come and take all that from him. So we know how this one's going to go down, man. It's going to be pops in the hall for sure. And I think it's going to be a hell of a co-main event. I don't think they could have made a more competitive matchup for this one.
I agree for sure. And I see a win here for Valdina, and I see him in the Contender Series or, you know, possibly on the roster within, you know, the next 6 to 12 months. It's really about how his camp, you know, what they want him to do. You know, I know he's made, you know, the switch to the cartel fully now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Joe is still in his corner and, you know, still backing him. You know, he's a legend in his own. You know, he gets that respect. I think it's really all about what they want to do. You know, as far as him, his trajectory's been awesome. You know, 5-0, 5 finishes. Knock on wood, it's gone perfect for him outside the injuries. So
for sure,
you know, I think it's really about what they want to do, and no one's forcing him to take these steps up in competition. He's doing it on his own, which is more the reason to root for the guy. So I see a win. I see possibly maybe one more on a different regional scene. Maybe we see him leave Cage Titans. You know, maybe we see him go to Combat Zone, or we see him go to Combat FC, or maybe even we see him go to LFA, or we see him go to the West Coast. You know, you never know.
There's a lot of opportunities, man.
He's a big time prospect, and you know, after this one, if he finishes it the way that we expect him to, the phone's gonna ring anywhere. So everybody's gonna want him to fight. So I don't know. I really think that, as much of a big announcement it is, I think that the size and the striking is just way too much of a mismatch, and we'll see. You know, I'm not trying to throw dirt onto Smythe. You know, I like Tyler. I've gotten along with him well. One of the first fighters I met at Cage Titans, but you know, the first fighter I met at Cage Titans is Andrew Valdina. We rock with him. I don't give a shit if you think I'm biased. I'm not biased with anybody. I'm biased with him. That's it.
All right, man. I love to hear it. Let's get into the main event, the big announcement that went down today and outside on the front step of Plymouth Memorial Hall, the one that everybody's been waiting for in New England and regional MMA. It's the lightweight champion, Joe Giannetti, taking on the challenger and Peter Barrett, man. Like I said, we've been waiting a long time for this one. Mike said that this one's been trying to be made since, 2017. We're finally getting it now in 2022. Initial reactions to this matchup, man. What were you thinking when you saw this one?
Listen, my initial reaction, and hear me out. My initial reaction was, it's about damn time. My second reaction was, maybe it's not about damn time. Maybe this is actually the perfect time. You know, you could say it could have made in 2017, but realistically, what would that have done? We're at the point now where Giannetti's beaten everybody, you know, outside of Dufort, who they had to fly him in from another country. So he's beating everybody on the region. Barrett kind of needs a last, you know, Hail Mary to get back into the, you know, the UFC or a PFL type, you know, promotion. You know, he's 37, like, you know, Joe mentioned 50 times today.
Right.
He's on the, you know, the latter part of his career. So I think from a Barrett standpoint, this is the only fight that I'd be taking if I'm him. From a Giannetti standpoint, you go out, you finish him. The UFC doesn't want you then. I don't know what you have to do for them to want you. So I'd have to imagine that Joe was sick of, you know, not getting the call and sick of hearing, you know, all the BS that he takes. And, you know, he put that all to the side. And, you know, they were chirping in the comments a couple weeks ago for the first time in a couple of years. And, you know, when this announcement was made yesterday, you know, how Cage Titans is going to make the biggest announcement in promotion history.
Right.
First thing that lit off in my head, I know we spoke prior. First thing that lit off in my head was, oh, dear God, they're really going to do this, huh? They're really going to do this. And then I get the Nick Heiler DM this morning. Hey, we're doing a press conference today. I said, oh, my God, they don't do those for no reason. Not on a Monday morning.
Especially so close after their last event, too. You know what I mean? So they're definitely selling this one for sure.
Dating back to my reaction, I just got to give a shout out to Mike and, you know, Nick. You know, I know Nick's not the matchmaker, but I'm pretty sure damn well Nick was in his ear saying, Mike, we got to get this one done. And, you know, you could see the look on Mike's face today. You know, he was a little tense, you know.
Yeah, it was.
He's ready for this. I think that even till he got to the moment, he didn't realize how big of a fight this truly was going to be. As you know, you could say it, but until you see it, those guys don't like each other. And I don't even know if Pete dislikes Joe, but I know Joe hates Pete. So, I'm excited. What do you think? But before we even break down the fight, what do you think?
Yeah, the initial reaction, man, was when I saw like emergency press conference, biggest fight in Cage Titans history. Immediately, I was like, it has to be Joe versus Pete. I was racking my brain for other names. Like, if it's not them, who could it possibly be? But my brain just kept going back to Joe versus Pete, and that's one that we've been wanting for years, but it's never happened. So it's like, yeah, but we haven't gotten it yet. So what makes me think we're gonna get it now? But that's the one that we ended up getting, man. And I was immediately excited. Immediately had to tune into the press conference. It was fireworks. The matchup in general, man, I'm very intrigued by it. Pete loves to stand and bang. He's very powerful on the feet. Joe's more of a tactician on the feet. He loves to use his striking and fight from range. The grappling of Giannetti is, it's been put on a pedestal at Cage Titans for years. He's got plenty of submissions under his record to prove that. And Pete just won his last fight by submission as well versus a tough Brazilian. So it's like the matchup between the two is very intriguing. And I do agree with what you're saying, man. With Pete being, 37, he's starting a family. It's kind of like his last ditch effort to really like win this title from Joe and then do something big with it. And for Joe, it's kind of the same thing, man. I know he's like 27, 28. He's still got plenty of years under his belt, but he's been looking for a way to get back to the UFC. And for me, looking at the lightweights in the region, man, it's tough for him to get lightweight title fights around here that really move the needle. Pete's really the only guy in the area that can really do that. Like you mentioned, they flew in Dufour from Canada. It's been tough for him. So my reaction was Joe has got to fight Pete. And if it's not Pete, he's got to go fight somewhere else on another regional scene to fight tough guys. So he's got Pete. If this one doesn't move the needle for the UFC, he's got to go somewhere else and get wins out in the lightweight divisions elsewhere. That's really the only way I see him getting back to where he wants to be. And so there's a lot riding on the line for these two. Aside from the hatred that they have for each other, there's a lot for their careers on the line as well, which I think makes this matchup and fight even more intriguing, more so than just like a fan of New England MMA. It's just a fan of regional MMA in general, where I think this fight really kind of is one to put on notice and tune into Spectation Sports if you're not going to be there for sure.
For sure. I mean, and quick story. I think it was my first Cage Titans event, my first MMA event that I covered. I walk backstage, Nick has me walk upstage and walk back there. And on one side, Peter Barrett, everybody who's fighting on the cards training. There's about maybe 7 fights left. On one side, you see Barrett, you see everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about. The blinds are up, the big thing in the middle, the divider.
Oh yeah.
Go on the other side of the stage. Joe Giannetti's training on his own. This is weird. I'm like, right. What's going on here? I find out that these two hated each other so much 3-4 years ago they couldn't be in the same side of the room. They couldn't have any of their team members on the same side of the room in a building where most of people's team members corner other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long these guys have hated each other. And I'm in New York, I'm not from the town. I'm not in the area. For me to know that regional MMA, like that beef, it has to be real. Like there's no way you walk into a building like that and the first thing they tell you, hey, listen, like these two guys hate each other. Don't ask them about each other. Don't bring the names up. Don't even say the other one's fighting. Leave them alone. For that to be the first thing you hear, I knew at some point this fight was going to be made. Now, to go into it from a fight standpoint, I think that Joe Giannetti's jiu-jitsu is as legit as it gets. I think, he got caught by Dufour. It happens. That's the game. You take risks, and sometimes it doesn't work out. I think that there's a mismatch in the jiu-jitsu department, the grappling department. But listen, Peter Barrett's tough as nails. Guys like him, they don't come around too often. He's 37, still in the game. Tough MFer, man. He really could throw shots. He could kick. He could punch. I love his striking. I hope it's going to be exciting. I hope that, we don't get the feel-out process for 5 rounds and, these guys just touch the gloves. I want to see violence. I don't want to see a quick submission. I don't want to see a quick knockout. I want to see 5 rounds of war. I want to see what we've waited for. I want to see more of this buildup. I want to see, either the guys want to talk to me, they want to talk to you. Come talk to us.
100%.
You want to beef? Go ahead. Get it all out now. When you fight, put it behind us. You guys are 2 legends in the Northeast regional scene, 2 legends in Massachusetts. When you guys fight, make up, do whatever you got to do. Be men, respect. All is love in war, and you call it a day. Just like the other night with the Perez fight. They beefed for, the coach choked the other coach out in the PI. They had beef for a year plus. Second you fight, second it's over, flip the script. They're honestly, in my experience with both of these guys, Peter Barrett and Joe Giannetti are both great guys. They might not like each other, but I personally think let's fight, let's have a war, let's flip the script. You're both legends in your own right, in the town, and do something positive together after that. Maybe have a seminar, go train some people together, train some kids together. It sounds crazy, but this is why you play sports. This is why you fight. This is why you do all these things. This is why you watch sports.
100%, man. Crazier things have happened too, so I wouldn't put it past them at all. The thing that I'm looking forward to most outside of the actual fight itself, man, is going to be the atmosphere inside Plymouth Memorial Hall.
So let me cut you off real quick. I got to cut you off. You're a Massachusetts guy.
Sure.
How do you think the atmosphere is going to be?
Bro,
do you think it's going to be 50-50, or do you think it's going to be like a hostile crowd, like we could expect like fights in the crowd? Like what do you think?
So the most electric I've ever heard the Hall, man, was Peter Barrett versus Mo Al-Kanani.
Oh my God, that was a movie.
The tension in the building was crazy, man. Like, Pete's a hometown favorite. Mo was kind of the out-of-towner guy, so it's obviously a heavy Pete crowd. Even the security guards that worked in the building, man, they stopped being security guards for that fight, and they were just fans. You know what I mean? They were rooting for Pete hard as hell. And Giannetti brings in just as large a crowd as Pete does. Now, what's going to happen when those two crowds have to be how they are for the same fight against each other is what's going to be entertaining. Because if it was so tense for a Peter Barrett and Mo Al-Kanani fight when Mo was the out-of-town guy, how intense and how tense is it going to be inside that building with two hometown guys that bring the same type of crowd into that building? And you've been to a few of the Cage Titan shows. By the end of the main event, everybody starts to trickle out, starts going to the bar. I'm expecting every seat in this place to still be full at main event time, brother.
You're not even touching on it. You got Valdina before it.
Yeah.
No fighter draws a bigger crowd in Plymouth Memorial Hall than Andrew Valdina. No one. It's a fact. It's simply a fact.
The fact that you have him first and then those two guys after, man, those are literally the three biggest draws in the region, and they're stacked.
If and when he gets the finish, the place is going to be jumping before that next fight. Jumping. It's going to be a zoo. And on top of that, Valdina's trained with both guys. He's friends with both guys. So how's his crowd going to be towards both of them?
Yeah, man.
This is everything. This is literally New England MMA. This is everything. This is the biggest fight New England MMA has ever seen.
And I got to ask you, man, since we haven't seen you around a little bit, are we going to see you back in Plymouth Memorial Hall on July 20th, man? Are you making the return to Plymouth? What's good?
I'll be in Plymouth. New York will be in Plymouth. We'll have some media guys. We'll be in Plymouth. I'm gonna hopefully get some other guys down there too. I'm looking to be in Plymouth more than just a media man and a fan moving forward. Nick Heiler, get me a fight, brother. I'm ready to roll. Any MMA media guy that wants it, 55, 70, come get some. I don't want to fight at 70, but if you have to fight at 70, if you're fat, I'll come get you. 55, 60, come get some. Anybody wants it. Nick Heiler, I love you. You're the guy. Mike Pulver, help me out. Get me somebody in the MMA media space. Run it. I'll be back more often. You want me to commentate? I'll commentate. Anything you want, I'll do it. Get me in the cage. That's it.
Hey,
Get
man.
me in the cage. I know Chris wants to see it. I know my media.
Of course I want to see it, brother. Of course I want to see it, man.
I don't want to fight some random jack. I want to fight a media guy, a guy who does interviews, a guy who does the same thing as me. And let's see. That's it. Let's see. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm McGregor, this, that. Let's just see. Let's have some fun. Let's be psychopaths. Go ahead. Who's built like it? Maybe not me, maybe not you, but let's find out.
Hey, man, I think that'd be a blast to see you in there. I know that you've been kind of, talking about getting into the space a little bit when it comes to competing.
We need a belt.
If your first one happens to be at Cage Titans, man, I will be front row and center, and I'll be cheering you on, brother. That's for sure.
I gotta be at the Hall. I gotta fight at the Hall. I need Baba O'Reilly blasting at the Hall. I need it. Let's
get it. Pulver and Nick Heiler are now on notice, brother. They got your name. They got your number. Let's run it.
I'll go in the cage and grab the microphone after a fight on the 20th. I do not care. You need me to pick a couple opponents, I'll pick them.
Hey,
they're out there.
We'll start lining up some names, man. We'll figure this one out for sure.
Listen, any media guys, open sparring invite during fight week in Cage Titans.
All right, let's get it, man.
Anyone out there, let's run it. Let's just have some fun.
Hell yeah, man. And before I get you out of here, man, I'll let you get back to the rest of your Monday night. Just overall reactions from the whole presser, man. What do you think about today's emergency press conference?
I gotta say, once again, Nick Heiler, on his BS, on his bullshit. I have to say the word.
Hey, you can swear
Nick's
on
the
here. It's
best.
all good.
Listen, Nick's the best. As far as marketing and socials, Cage Titans is the best. I've ran their socials a couple times on Fight Night. I've helped out. You've done the same. You've helped out. Nick's the best. He looks out for guys like me and you. He makes sure that guys like us get opportunities. And you can say what you want about the fighters, about the fight. Days like today benefit us just as much as they benefit fighters. Somebody's got to ask the questions. So I loved it. We haven't really seen that type of press conference in the middle of the week, out of nowhere, emergency. They pulled strings out of the hat. They had, Tyler come from Maine overnight. Yeah. So I loved it. I want to see more of it. I mean, if I was local, I would have been there. Unfortunately, I don't 5-6 hours away. I couldn't get there, but I loved it. I think we need more of that. How cool would that be if we just got random announcements like Mike was Dana on a Monday morning? Like that was sick.
Yeah, man. Everybody was tuned in. I had everybody hit me up that knows I'm like at the fights all the time. They're like, "Yo, you see this? You see this? You see this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, you guys better tune in, man. Y'all better tune in for this."
You are the guy.
I appreciate you, man. The presser was lit, brother. The presser. If I could have been there as well, I tried. I sent some questions in. Got my 2 cents in. I wish I could have been there, man. That would have been a blast.
My biggest takeaway from the presser was, I really don't think Peter Barrett hates Joe Giannetti. I just don't. I don't think that. I think that he may not like the guy, but I don't think there's nearly as much animosity as there is from the Giannetti corner. Barrett. I'd seen Barrett was more worried about who was in Giannetti's corner. He was yelling at the people in the crowd more than he was yelling at JoJo, if we're being honest.
Right.
So I don't know. I just really hope that Giannetti doesn't get too aggressive and get too emotional. With all the back and forth, because he's really not an emotional fighter. He's more of a timid approach and more of a. He's very, he times up things very well. So I don't know. I will say this buildup isn't stopping today.
No.
Which in regional MMA is not normal.
For sure. Mike did tease it as well, because how they do their Table Titan shows on Monday nights. He did tease it that they're going to start telling the story for those that don't know, the beginning of the Joe and Pete kind of drama and kind of how that's led up to now. So if anybody is trying to figure out the story and figure out what's really going on here, if today's your first taste of the Joe and Pete beef, I guess start tuning into Table Titans on Monday night and let Mike tell you the story about how we got here, man. I think that's going to be pretty fascinating for sure.
Definitely, bro. I think that this card is going to be incredible, and I hope that you're there, because we'll get something on Friday. We'll get something to eat. We'll go shoot some content. There's a ton of stuff we could do.
Yep.
I think that it's going to be a tremendous card. I think for everybody, fans, media, fighters, picture the guys who are low-level regional fighters that don't get opportunities to fight on these types of cards. This is a real event. This is a big-time event that's going to have eyes across the entire MMA landscape. These two guys are fighting for a UFC spot. When you have that in regional MMA, people are tuning into the card. I've seen Aaron Hughes before, not begging, but he's like, I got to get my ass on this card. This is going to be, I hope we see Kyle Hill.
We do. They announced Kyle Hill versus Aaron Trussell for this card as well.
So that's this card.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that when they brought him out, this card's going to be fucking nuts. This card.
And then they had those 2 amateur title fights as well that are supposed to be on this card, which are both really highly level fights. For amateur fights, they're real high level fights. So I'm super excited, man. This card's going to be a banger.
Holy hell, bro. Listen, this is it. This is why we sit there and we watch Cage Titans every weekend. The once a month, the once every 2 months. This is why we watch all the fights. People, you did. No, this is why we do. This is why we watch. This is a reward. This is a blessing. Shout out Mike. Shout out Nick. Shout out everybody who made this possible. Shout out Mikey De Silva. You don't even know who I am, but I love what you do. You're a sicko. I love what you do. I love that he had the intro to the presser today, the commercial. I was cracking up. I said, this guy's got it.
He is the man. He's the man. He's a larger than life personality. He's a larger than life human, but also a larger than life personality to go along with him, man. Super cool dude. When you come to the fights on the 20th, man, make sure you go say what's up to him. He's a wicked nice guy.
For sure, man. And I got to get one last thing out of you.
What's up?
These are technically speaking, these are your guys. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So prediction wise, you might step on toes. I don't give a shit. But what do you think of the main event? Prediction, I got a gun to your head right now. God bless. You got to pick one. Who you picking?
I'm like one that really does predictions closer to fight night, but just to answer your question, I'm going to give you one. I'm not backing out of this. All right. I'm going to go
20 years to predict this fight.
First reaction would be Giannetti submission round 3.
Wow, very specific. Okay.
I think there might be a little bit of a feeling out process in the beginning. And
now,
I think
when you
that
say feeling out, do you think like they're going to be jabbing back and forth, like talking in there a little bit, or do you think that they're like one doesn't want to make a mistake type feeling out?
I could see them definitely chirping at each other, especially, I don't think what we saw today is going to end anytime soon. I think they're going to be chirping at each other for the next 7 weeks till we get to fight night. But I do like the way that JoJo does normally come in there in the first round, and he does fight long. You know what I mean? That's just typically his style. And I'm expecting that from him. I was expecting it from in the Jacob Bowen fight too, but he proved me wrong, and he went out there and he put him out in under 30 seconds. So I could be completely wrong on this. But if you gun to my head, if you made me predict right now, I'm saying Giannetti round 3 submission.
Okay, I like that. I agree with that. I agree with that.
I think they're both high level enough where we do get into those middle rounds.
Yeah, that's for sure. I can't see Pete getting caught too early. I don't think, as a veteran, I don't think he's going to overextend too early. As good of a striker as he is, I think he knows what the game plan is from the other side, and I think that he might get caught in a submission, but I don't think it'll be as early as some people on the Giannetti side may expect. I think that's a really well prediction, and I know Andrew Valdina, that prediction. Do I have to ask you it? I'm going to ask you. What's your prediction on that one?
I'm going Valdina. I think it goes into the second. I think Smythe is very high level. I do think that he puts up a good fight.
Grappler too, honestly.
He is. He's very well rounded. But I think we're gonna get a Valdina round 2 stoppage. I don't know, not finish. It's gonna be a finish. I can't specify submission or knockout, but I think he's gonna finish him in the second.
Okay, I like that a lot. And I got one more request. That's it. Nick, Mike, can we get Joe Poirier on this card?
Oh, we need him. We got snubbed of a Joe Poirier fight at 65. Man, we need him on 66.
Please, I mean, we're talking fireworks. How do you can't have Valdina and not Poirier. This is like having Batman without Robin. I'm not saying that he's his sidekick by any means, but I'm just saying it's like you can't have peanut butter without jelly. Like it doesn't work that way.
I hear you.
Make it happen. We need to make that happen. The hall needs to be at max capacity of electricity, and that's how it's happening.
Of course, man. You put Poirier on that pro main card as well, man. That place is packed out from top to bottom, and no one's leaving a seat.
From a prospect standpoint, if you had Poirier, you had Valdina, you had Kyle Hill, that's just 3 to get started, and those are 3 young dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Forget it. This is it. This is Christmas. To describe this in
Christmas in July is the perfect way to describe it.
This is a Christmas in July in Massachusetts. God bless and thank you, Cage Titans. Amen.
Amen. Charlie Quinn, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for taking the time. Come on and talk to me, man. Presser happened this afternoon. We're recording this, same night of. Get those initial reactions, initial thoughts, initial predictions, brother. I'm very much looking forward to, talking to you again. Definitely, if you're in town, hit me up. I'm always around. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you inside the building on July 20th, my man.
For sure, bro. I appreciate you having me on. Hey, if you're not following Caged In Podcast, do yourself a favor and do it now. Otherwise, unfollow me because I don't want you to follow. Follow my boy. Figure it out. Chris is the man. This is the top dog in Massachusetts. Put up or shut up. Follow him or go fuck yourself. Goodbye.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.